Turkey, Saudi Arabia and Pakistan have signed a major trilateral pact, ensuring each other's security amid a complex and evolving threats in West Asia region. But the agreement has neither stopped the contest between Iran and the United States in Hormuz, nor it has helped with the new theater of war drawn between Saudi-backed Yemeni government and Iran-supported Houthi rebels in Yemen. Now, with Houthi strikes killing over 60 people in two separate attacks on eastern Yemen and subsequent Yemeni government operations against Houthi targets, the pact seems to have no influence when it comes to de-escalation. Within hours of being signed, the Iranian officials and clerics mocked the agreement, promising that the roar of Iran's missiles would soon reach its signatories. Ibrahim Rezai, a member of the Iranian Parliament's National Security Committee, he warned the Saudis, suggesting that a paper agreement with Turkey and Pakistan would not bring them security, just like them nursing Americans brought none. Rezai explicitly asked the signatories to correct their policies instead of begging for security. Meanwhile, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi reacted to Mecca Joint Defense Pact, saying that Iran's powerful armed forces showed their readiness, their capability and might in the face of the world's most expensive military. Araghchi also called on wider Muslim world to stay united and self-reliant to tackle those he termed malicious outsiders. Now known as Mecca Joint Defense Agreement, the pact stems from growing unreliability on United States and builds on the September 2025 bilateral defense agreement between Pakistan and Saudi Arabia. The officials have described it as defensive, rooted in UN Charter Article 51, open to other friendly states and not a Sunni bloc military axis or a nuclear arrangement. It has brought together the three key signatories: Turkey, which fields NATO's second largest military; Saudi Arabia as one of the world's top oil exporters and home to Islam's holiest sites; and Pakistan, which is the only nuclear-armed Muslim state. The reporting frames it as a response to exposed vulnerabilities and a move towards supplementary security arrangements, rather than full replacement of US ties. However, it does not automatically draw the parties into offensive operations against Iran, nor does it cover other GCC states that have also been targeted. The Mecca Defense Pact highly tends to give mixed signals to Sunni-dominant countries. In Turkey, 88% self-identify as Sunni. In Saudi Arabia, 85 to 90% of citizens are Sunni, and the figure remains the same for Pakistan. Jordan's 97% of population is Sunni, and Syria has 74% Sunni population. Lastly, Oman is 45% and Iraq is 40% Sunni. Gulf states such as Kuwait, the UAE and Qatar share similar demography. But despite being signed in the holy city of Mecca on Friday, the agreement does not constitute a Sunni NATO. Egypt, which participated in related four-nation security consultations in recent months, it stayed out of the formal mutual defense pact. While intra-Gulf differences, like the one between Saudi and UAE, it continues to persist, and other notable Sunni states like Jordan were also absent. However, it remains to be seen whether Iraq, being invited to the fold by Riyadh, will join the pact or not. Meanwhile, US is still hopeful about the progress between Iran and Oman that could soon reopen the Strait of Hormuz, potentially restoring oil exports disrupted by the 5-month-old US war with Iran. A US official has said that Washington expects an agreement soon between Iran and Oman, which sits on the opposite sides of the strategic waterway, allowing normal oil traffic to resume. And to discuss more, we are now being joined from London by Chris Doyle. He's the Director of Council for Arab-British Understanding. Thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast, Mr. Doyle. Now, this tripartite defense pact, which is now in place, but the Strait of Hormuz, it remains a major pressure point. Do you think this new security arrangement would have any meaningful bearing on the reopening of the strait?
Well, let's hope so, but I have to be doubtful to some extent. Iran has withstood the might of the United States in combination with Israel. It has withstood a huge amount of diplomatic pressure to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. And I suspect at the moment that its leadership still feels pretty confident because it holds so many cards. It's demonstrated an ability to inflict this huge financial pain on so many actors on the global economy. So I'm not sure it necessarily will feel too threatened by what is a defense pact three countries that have not attacked Iran at all, and actually are not therefore on the same page as the United States nor Israel. But Iran should also take notice of this, that in doing all that it's done since February, that it has antagonized neighbors. It has borders, very important borders with Iran and Turkey. Saudi Arabia is just across the Strait of Hormuz, across the Persian-Arabian Gulf. So it cannot just ignore what is happening here. And I think, as many experts, including myself, has been saying, that whilst countries like Saudi Arabia are not going to depart from an American security umbrella, they're going to have a more hybrid approach. They are going to make these sort of deals with other powers. They're not going to have all their eggs in one basket. And I think that's what we're seeing here, is that Saudi Arabia in particular, because of the countries concerned, it's Saudi that's really been attacked, has tried to build up through this pact a way of ensuring greater security in the future, and to demonstrate that it does have other options than the United States.
This is, of course, aimed at diversification, but do you think that this pact could also materially strengthen the deterrence against Iran, and especially at a time when the region is already under severe, military pressure?
I'm not sure it's going to deter Iran. I think that what might deter Iran is a far larger alliance that would include the United States joining in with this. But frankly, I think Iran has demonstrated, no matter what the sort of alliance against it, it has these options, that Saudi Arabia is no more capable than the United States of providing anti-ballistic missile cover stretching from Iraq all the way down to Oman. So it still requires all that US kit. The shortage of American munitions is just as much of a problem for Saudi Arabia. So none of that is going to get addressed. And already Saudi Arabia had an alliance with the United States, a nuclear power. Sure, yes, Pakistan is a nuclear power. But I think Iran will calculate that, Pakistan is not about to use nuclear weapons on Iran anytime soon. So I think that Iran will take note of this, but I think it's probably going to hold its line in the negotiations. It believes that ultimately it can secure a political deal that will largely provide it with a lot of the goals that it's wishing to achieve. And I think at the moment it is the United States that's on the back foot, and that's going to remain the case regardless of this deal.
But Mr. Dolan, we're also seeing this Shia-Sunni divide that's playing out, with Iran on the one side and this predominantly Sunni grouping on the other. Do you think that this is also highlighting the sectarian alignments which are becoming more visible in the region's architecture going ahead?
Well, I think a lot of people are going to depict it that way, but I'm not sure it necessarily does play out like that. I mean, if there is a Middle East alliance ranged against Iran, it's not going to be a Shia one, for the very simple question: there aren't many Shia majority states. So you can always, see any alliance coming from, Middle East Muslim powers is going to be largely a Sunni one. That's just the reality, because Sunnis are by far the largest sect in Islam. I think this is very much not so much a Sunni alliance. I think this is an alliance, a very practical alliance between parties who have mutual interests. They don't agree on everything, by the way, and already there was a Saudi-Pakistan defense pact, so this is just adding Turkey to it, that, demonstrates that they have options should Iran decide to pursue more aggressive approaches.
But Mr. Dolan, do you think that it's also important to see who all are outside this pact? We have the UAE, Bahrain, Egypt, all key regional players who are absent from this alignment. Now, what do you think their absence tell us about the extent of consensus among the Arab states over how the regional security should be aligned going ahead?
Well, it'll be interesting to see if any other states seek to join this alliance, and exactly under what conditions. So there's still plenty of questions to be asked about the nature of the mutual security clauses within it. But we certainly know that within the GCC there are differences, particularly between Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. The United Arab Emirates has a much more aggressive posture towards Iran, not least because it was hit considerably harder than any of the other states concerned. But then again, you get Oman, who is far closer to Iran, it's more willing to make a deal, it is more of a conciliatory, mediatory power. And Kuwait, who lies in between. Bahrain has always had a fairly hostile approach to Iran as well. So there are differences, but those differences still don't mean that some of them may not seek to join this alliance. But I think right at the center of this is Saudi Arabia, and it's Saudi that feels very threatened. It has a lot to lose with any spread of this conflict, and I think it wants to put the maximum amount of pressure on Iran to say, you're going to be isolated in the Islamic world, end this now, and let's see how we can go forward. It's defensive, we can have relations with you, but there is a limit.
Of course, Mr. Doyle, we'll have to wait and see what kind of bearing this alignment has on, the regional architecture, the security architecture, but also the conflict that we're seeing throughout in West Asia. But for now, thank you so much, Mr. Doyle, for joining us on the broadcast and sharing your analysis with us and our viewers.
Thank you.